Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday night. Lovely to have you guys here for another episode of the show. Was a lot of fun to be back out of practice today. We are going to talk about Chig Okonkwo. Watched a little bit of Chig throughout the course of practice. We had him on the radio show, and a lot of you guys, when you talk about things that you're excited about for the 2023 season, you don't get very far down the list before a lot of you have brought up the idea of Chig and his development in year two and how that might work with the offense. So we're going to focus on Chig tonight and talk about some other Titans newcomers who were interested, newcomers and second-year players who were interested in seeing take the next step. So we'll do that, and we'll have Bert on at the end of the show. It's a Monday night, so that means in case you missed it, I hear it's Titans related. We had a couple of moments at the press conference that I think it might revolve around, and some little urchins who are out on the practice field around us today that might have something to do with the subject matter. But a lot of fun stuff that we have to get into over the course of tonight's show. Before we start, though, you guys know what I need from you. Yeah, I need you to share this show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're on Twitter, retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to do the same. We would be grateful if you did so. And we can talk about all of your year two expectations for Chig and a lot of interesting skill position players on this Titans football team. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. Superbook Sports, plug in the promo code ATOZ, A2Z in the Superbook Sports app, and they'll match your first bet up to $250. All the best odds, boosts, and promo bets available at Superbook Sports. And True Math Fitness in the Gulch, your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident, whether it's personal training or their group classes. No better workout for you than TrueMathFitness.com. So as we look at a couple of different things, Christopher Young says, Chig won me over today. I don't know if you're talking about the radio interview specifically, or if you had the opportunity to attend practice, or if there was something else that you saw, Christopher, that is the reason why you feel Chig won you over. I think that when you look at the guys who have a lot of responsibility on this roster, and we've talked about how much easier things get for these guys, these young players, with DeAndre Hopkins' presence on the roster, Chig is somebody who is still going to have a tremendous amount of responsibility heading into 2023, despite going into only his second year. You know, I think that when you talk about guys who figure to have a larger role than another player, for example, you know, Lucas and I put this on a poll question today for the radio show, the idea of who might have a bigger role in the offense this year. And I think I could make the argument for Chig, given everything that they require from the tight end position between Chig and Treylon Burks. But I think that when you talk about all the different elements of this, all the different things that the tight end position is responsible for, and basically what they have right now in the tight end room, that Chig stands to be in a position, at least, to make a lot of plays for this football team heading into this season. A lot of you guys are asking me questions about Levis's performance at practice today. It's my understanding that he did have a good day. Here's what I'll tell you about my vantage point from practice. William Brown says, no talk about Levis throwing 5 touchdowns today. 3 of them were in the red zone, 7-on-7. But here's the thing, like, they have 3 practice fields at St. Thomas Sports Park. So my radio show setup is on the first practice field. Now, I can go over during a commercial break, and, you know, I've got long commercial breaks. They're about 7 minutes long on the radio station. So I can walk over to the third field when they're on the far field. But when they are on the third field and I'm on the first field, the way that we were today, there's limited visibility. So basically, I had as many observations from, I would say, about the second hour of practice. Saw a lot of the first hour. It's mostly team stuff that we're not allowed to video. But I did hear that Levis did well in the red zone drills on the third field today. But again, my visibility was not great. And since I talked to Chig on the radio show, I figured I'd talk about Chig because I'm sure Austin will talk about the Levis situation tomorrow morning. Pretty boy Lipschitz says he didn't throw an inaccurate pass all practice. Well, again, that's entirely possible. I don't know if that's true. it's entirely possible, but if not, good for him. That's an improvement on the first 3 days of practice where he's been trying to kind of figure out his touch on the ball. So we'll talk more about Levis. Oh, by the way, speaking of Levis, he's on the radio show on Thursday. So we'll have Rashad Weaver on. We'll have Rashad Weaver tomorrow. We'll have Will Levis on the radio show on Thursday. And so we can talk about a lot of these things. And obviously on Thursday, prior to the radio show starting, when we're out there for practice, I will go out and I'll go out and specifically watch Levis. Specifically today, I watched Chig because I knew I was going to have him. Friday, we did Spears, all these different things. So if you want to hear from Will Levis about how his training camp work has gone so far, you can listen to him with me on Thursday at about 11 o'clock after they conclude practice. All right. So let's talk, though, about Chig at this point and get into a conversation about the Titans tight end group. I think that he is somebody who's going to draw a lot of scrutiny this year for obvious reasons. So let's talk about it within the context of the Titans offense. What are your expectations for Chig in year two? On Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, we will discuss at length together. You can give me your answers in the comment section, and we'll certainly get to some of them. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's presented by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Nobody has better customer service or quality American-made Ford vehicles than Two Rivers Ford. Go test drive an F-150, a Ford Bronco, a 2023 Ford Explorer like I drive. You can custom order. You can buy on the lot. No matter how you like to shop, Two Rivers Ford has you covered. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So first day of pads today. There was a lot of action going on. Offensive line has been a talking point of the first couple of days. Tight ends getting the opportunity to block and get involved in that. Some semblances of the run game for those of you guys who are asking. First day of pads is always exciting, and they had a few fans out there to kind of give some juice to the practice. But what we saw from the offensive line, I thought it's been kind of an interesting day-to-day proposition right now. The defensive line has looked better in the early going. The offensive line is still getting to know each other, still trying to feel things out. And again, it's their first day in pads. But I didn't think they were bad by any stretch of the imagination. I thought there were some nice pockets. You could tell from our vantage point, you could see, Ryan Tannehill. Now, Ryan Tannehill did throw his first interception of training camp today. Sean Murphy bunting in the back of the end zone. Hopkins, I believe, was the intended target. Nice play on the ball by Murphy bunting in the back of the end zone. This was during 7-on-7 in red zone. But yeah, you got the pads on. You saw what the Titans running game might look like. You saw what the offensive line group might look like in a more full sample size. And certainly Mike Vrabel seemed pleased with how the team handled that. And the offensive line was not a major talking point of, oh, wow, Jeff and Arden Key are winning on a regular basis up front. This is something that has been a talking point for the last couple of days. The offensive line didn't leave, at least today anyway, with that being the main talking point about Brunskill or Dillard or guys who you have questions about. I think Skoronski might be the thing that I trust most on that line. And I know it's just one day of full pads practice, but damn, he is just consistently technically sound and never in the wrong place. You can see why the coaching staff thinks so highly of him and why they might be reticent to move him outside. But we're here to talk about tight ends. So tight ends at this point, tight ends, you look at the room that they've got and the guys who project to be on this team. So not necessarily doing 53-man roster projections right now, but Trayvon Wesco, who was brought in to be Jeff Swaim, blocking tight end. Chig Okonkwo was the move tight end. Wesco inline tight end. Then you have Austin Wiley, Josh Wiley. I don't know why. Austin Wiley, I think, is an offensive lineman from the Chief a couple of years ago. And I keep calling him Austin Wiley, and that's probably not going to stop until I, embarrass myself in front of Josh Wiley. So I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. But Josh Wiley, the rookie 5th-round pick, former wide receiver, not somebody who I think you should expect to see on the field a ton beyond special teams. I'm sure they'll have opportunities for him to get on the field on offense, but for what he needs to do within this offensive system, it kind of took Chig a little while to get on the field for that reason. I think Wiley is probably somebody who you should look at with a similar timeline. So talking to Chig today about kind of where things are for him now heading into year 2 versus where he was as a rookie. You can tell, but whether it's him, whether it's Burks, I haven't talked to Phillips yet during this training camp, but just generally, these year 2 guys seem so much more comfortable in their own skin. I mean, how much different, honestly, is it from year 1 to year 2? Because at a certain point, I got to imagine, your head is spinning coming in as a rookie with all the different things that are going on both on the field and off the field. And at this point, it just seems like y'all got the routine down.
Yeah, man, year 1, it feels like a never-ending spiral, man. It just keeps going because, everything is new. Every week is new because every week is just a new thing. But now it's like year 2, you've already seen everything in year 1, and you know what to expect. And then, the playbook, obviously, you're not learning a whole playbook. You're just kind of brushing up the stuff that you already know. So, yeah, it definitely can play a lot faster, live a lot easier, have less anxiety.
Breathe it a little easier?
Breathe
All right, so
easier.
What's the height of rookie anxiety? What was that moment for you last season?
Height of rookie anxiety?
I got to imagine there's a few points that probably come to mind throughout the course of a season, given how much longer it is from college to pro.
Man, I can't even remember. I think
it's just blacked out.
Probably like the first part of the year, man, like when you first go into the game for the first time and like you're first in the huddle and you're first hearing the play, it's like in your mind it's like, what if I forget every play? It's like,
every play I've ever known.
Every play that we practiced for the past 3 months, what if I just forgot everything? But then, you just calm down and you go out there and play. But yeah.
So that's Chig Okonkwo on the radio show today. I thought he was really enjoyable. I thought he was really relaxed. I thought he was pretty open about how he felt in the confidence in himself and his teammates, and where his rookie class is heading into year 2 for them. So worth checking out. The full interview is on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page, and also if you subscribe to the radio show's podcast feed, you can listen to the full interview. All of the training camp interviews that we've done so far there. Rand Carthon, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Chig Okonkwo, and Tajay Spears. Tomorrow, Rashad Weaver. Thursday, Will Levis. So that will be, there's always good conversation there for you guys to get you to help you get to know your football team a little better. So expectations for Chig in year 2. To look at what his production was in year 1, he played in all 17 games, whether that was special teams or on offense, and started in 8 of them as that kind of got later in the year. You could see, obviously, what a difference he made in terms of playmaking ability once he got out there. And, by his own admission, it took him a little while to get comfortable. He felt like around week 5 or week 6, I think he told me the Commanders or the Colts game is when he started to kind of, feel like, all right, I got this. I can regularly contribute. I can get out there and I can run with these guys. Last year, 450 yards, 32 receptions on 46 targets. So caught about, just under 70% of the passes thrown his way. 3 touchdowns on the year. Had a couple of rushing attempts as well. He had only 2 rushing attempts last year. So not a ton, but averaged 26.5 yards per game throughout the course of the season, playing in all 17 of those games. So not a huge contributor, and so easy to see how he might be able to take a statistically decent step. Now you have an inline tight end in Wesco, who I think is going to be a nice compliment, who's going to allow them to do a lot more with Chig. I think Kevin Rader probably makes this roster again, who was a tight end, but really more a fullback for this team after they moved on from Torrey Carter out of LSU. I think that, it's easy. I'm not necessarily going to put statistical production on it because, one would assume that statistically he is going to produce more in, most of those categories as the primary tight end than he did last year. I don't think that's an unfair assumption to make, provided that he stay healthy. But like for Chig, I imagine that Chig is going to be talked about in the same way that Jonnu Smith was talked about. Like if we're talking about expectations, Chig is the next Jonnu. I mean, Delaney is not a fair comparison because Delaney Walker was, a top of his class, probably top tight end for several of the years that he was in the NFL. But in terms of those, the physical size, the skill set, I have the expectation that in his offense and in this offense, you'll see 2019, 2020 Jonnu Smith, right? I think that those guys have similar skill sets. I think you can tell that by the way that they look, by the way that they play. I know Chig has talked about emulating Jonnu's game a little bit, and then Jonnu, Delaney before that. So my expectation is that this guy becomes Jonnu Smith, peak Jonnu Smith, not the Jonnu Smith who petered out pretty catastrophically with the New England Patriots. He'll have more opportunities, right? He needs to be on the field more for him to be able to showcase that skill set. And for obvious reasons, he's going to be out on the field on a more regular basis this year. A to Z Sports Prime Time is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com and get your dream address without the stress. The Intel Edge is what you need. Don't sell without the intel at GaryAshton.com. They also make the A to Z Sports Titans Tuesday Q&A that we do on the Instagram story possible as well. So you can check that out right after you wrap up at GaryAshton.com. So as you look at Mr. Jones says Chig, Burks, D-Hop, D. Henry are all big plays waiting to happen. I mean, we played for you a couple of days ago at some point last week. I think it was probably Wednesday or Thursday. Greg Cosell talking about this offense and saying, yeah, if they can get average to even slightly above average offensive line play, this football team's got a little something, right? They're not a bad football team by any stretch of the imagination. They're an interesting offense or collection of offensive skill position players. But the offensive line has to get right. Now, I saw a couple of you asking about right tackle today. Jamarco Jones was the right tackle today primarily. You are seeing them mix and match a little bit. Jalen Duncan has seen reps at right tackle. OJ, John Ojukwu, I think is how you pronounce the last name. Either way, Vrabel calls him OJ, 61. He has gotten some reps at right tackle. And you also have Hubbard, who the free agent acquisition from Friday, who is starting to work in on that competition as well. So, the right tackle competition, I think, is going to be ongoing. It seems like, in the same way that Dylan Radins was given the opportunity basically to lose that job from the start of camp. It was his job at the start of camp. And then basically he just, he continued to have opportunities, continued to miss on those opportunities, and was ultimately taken out of the lineup. I don't know if that happens with Jamarco Jones. He might be the best option that you have. But right now it looks like Jones is going to be given the first couple of opportunities to kind of secure this position. And then should he not, they've obviously got some options that they might try. Jalen Duncan, I think, is the most, unknown deal here, right? He's not played right tackle. I don't believe other than what we're starting to see from him in practice. I have not talked to him at this point in camp, but that would be I think that's probably something I'll do. I would say I'd probably do it at practices this weekend, just because it gets kind of hectic with the radio show during the week for me to go out there and talk to players individually. Was able to talk to a lot of different guys on Saturday because, when practice ends, they bring a player over to the radio show setup. We do the interview while other media members are picking players off the field. So I'll probably save that for Duncan for this weekend when we don't have to worry about the radio show during practice while we're out there. So Michael Smith says Hubbard will be the starter. Jamarco Jones has started some games at tackle. Hubbard has two. They've both been in the league for a little while now. I know Chris Hubbard is he's, I think, in his 9th year or 10th year at this stage of his career. He's somebody who's almost always been regarded as a backup, but that's just kind of the option. This is ultimately a backup situation that you're having to account for because your starter has already been removed for the first 6 games of the season. Texas Titans as play selection is going to be integral in helping the offensive line this year too. Yes, I think that there's a lot of things that can be done to benefit this offensive line group as they kind of figure things out. But at a certain point, they're going to have to coalesce and try and put this thing together if this offense is going to have a real chance to succeed. So let's get into a discussion about which new Titan, not named DeAndre Hopkins, are you most excited to watch in 2023? That can be a free agent, an undrafted player. It can be one of the members of the rookie class. We are going to talk about which new addition to this football team, not named Hopkins. Hopkins is an easy one. I think everybody's excited to watch Hopkins. We'll discuss these things together. Which one not named DeAndre Hopkins are you most excited to watch in 2023? We will get into that on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. The best group workout classes, 40 minutes about in length, morning, afternoon, and evening, always with the best coaching staff around. No workout ever recycled or repeated to help you keep continuing to push your physical fitness and to better yourself along the way. I love the experience that I've had at True Math Fitness. I know you will too. Get all of their great membership options or try one of their workouts for free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMathFitness.com. So who are you most excited to watch at this point of the newcomers that are here? Lane, I always butcher your last name, Lane, so I'm just going to say Lane. Lane says Azeez Al-Shaair is who I assume he's talking about. The inside linebacker. You're going to have two different starting inside linebackers at this point with David Long and Zach Cunningham's departures. Dr. Gibby, Jack Gibbons, has been seeing a lot of the reps as of late, as opposed to Monty Rice. I think a lot of people just kind of penciled Monty Rice in for that job to replace Cunningham, where Al-Shaair is looked at more in the David Long role. Yeah, I think they might mess around and give Dr. Gibby a little bit of run here. I know we talked to Vrabel about that today. Vrabel wasn't very specific as to what's differentiating the two of them. I think he did mention towards the end of his answer, though, about the difference in skill set between those two players, that Gibbons is a little faster, a little longer. But it is interesting to kind of see that dynamic playing out because, listen, undrafted guys make a name for themselves all the time. But Monty Rice is a third-round pick out of Georgia. This is somebody who I think was looked at as, theoretically, the next David Long, Jayon Brown, even though he's not quite the same skill set. He's more of a thumper than those two are. The other two, much better in coverage than I think Monty Rice is, which is why you have Al-Shaair in a skill set like that. But, it sounds like Gibby is an interesting case study, an interesting place to watch. Okay, it said Gibbons is longer, Rice is faster. Thank you for correcting me on that. He did play well. Gibbons did in some spots. I think he played the majority of his snaps in the Cowboys game. And if I recall, did Dr. Gibby have an interception in the Cowboys game? I know Dak was throwing some picks. I need to look that up really quickly because I want to say that Jack Gibbons did have an interception in that game. He only played in 5 games, started 2. He did. Son of a bitch, he did have a pick. It doesn't say on Pro Football Reference. I don't have game logs in front of me in ways that are not going to make for compelling streaming content. But I do believe that interception was off of Dak Prescott against, let's see. No. Interception against the Houston Texans. Okay, Houston Texans is when he had that interception. Played in 5 games down the stretch. His first game in Jacksonville on special teams, and then started to get some defensive snaps as the season wore on. So, worth watching. We're talking about competition at the inside linebacker spot. It seems like they're going to give Gibbons an opportunity. We'll see whether or not he ultimately ends up winning that game. Bert reminds me that Byard had 2 interceptions in the Cowboys game in Week 17. So that interception for Gibbons was against the Texans, a game that Tennessee ultimately went on to lose at home. All right. Michael Smith says, excited to see how Tannehill plays this year. His job is on the line. Well, I mean, we talked about this on the radio show today. Like, his job's not on the line. I mean, the future sustainability of his career here, yes, and he might play out of his mind. He would have to play out of his mind to be able to, I think, to be able to prolong his contract situation here. He's not in danger of losing his job right now. He's going to be the starting quarterback. The only thing that's going to keep Ryan Tannehill from being the starting quarterback in 2023 is injury. So, he's in a weird spot, right? It is a contract year. Theoretically, you're right. His job is quote unquote on the line. But it's not really like he's going to have a job in the NFL for more years beyond this one, whether it's here or elsewhere is the question. And we'll see where he's at age 35. Not all quarterbacks can sustain the way that we talk about with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, who are Drew Brees, who are kind of resetting the standard as of late, but those guys aren't standards. Those are Hall of Famers. Tannehill's had a great career for damn near 14 years in the NFL. Michael Jones wants to know what will get him a new contract. You mean here? Yeah, I mean, he would have to, it would have to be something like 2019, 2020 Tannehill efficiency and effectiveness for that to be, I think, in consideration. But I think he's for sure. I mean, I'm certain it'll get a contract elsewhere, whether it's here or not is the question. But yeah, I mean, it would have to look something similar, or it would have to resemble what he was able to accomplish in 2019 and 2020. 2020 he was a top 3 quarterback by any measure. He was great. Major Key says, are they raising Malik stock to trade him? I mean, listen, if anybody's raising Malik stock, it's him. Levis, again, I didn't see everything in 7-on-7 today or in 11 I saw a little bit 11-on-11 because they were on the first field for a portion of practice, and then they moved over to the third field, which is further away from the radio show setup. So it sounded like Levis had the better day. I didn't actually see enough to determine one way or the other. I know Mike Vrabel talked about how much he enjoyed it. How did I say that the first time? I don't even know if I could enjoyed it. Good. It's been a long day. Anyway, Mike Vrabel said that he enjoyed the competition between the two quarterbacks at this point on the field, and that has been interesting to watch play out. But I think that if anybody is capable of raising Malik's stock, it's not the organization, it's him. He'll have to accomplish that. And, I mean, that's not something that has to happen this summer. They can roll into 2023 with 3 quarterbacks. And if they can move him, towards the trade deadline, and God forbid quarterback injuries happen elsewhere, there's always a compelling case for him. And, we could see how he may not make the roster. He may make the roster. It's really interesting to see how this is going to play out. But the newcomer that I'm most excited to watch in 2023, I think, is another player that's been on the radio show. I mentioned we talked to Tajay Spears on Friday. I think he's, I've talked about this before. I think that dude is coming here to get some touches, not just in the passing game, not just on third down, but I think he's going to carry the ball some. How they work him in with Derrick Henry, that remains to be seen.
So what can you tell us about this team's buy-in and this team's identity right now? I know it's early as hell in training camp, and you try not to get too ahead of your skis at any given point. But for the audience who doesn't get the opportunity to come out here and watch y'all on a regular basis and is getting excited for the season, what kind of can you let them in on at this point?
I feel like they had a great coach going here, before I came, and also we still building towards it, and we definitely working towards it. So we definitely willing to put the work in, and also buy into it as a team. I feel like we're gonna be off to a good start, and we're gonna have we're gonna be good.
I had Murphy Bunting over here, or I guess that would have been Wednesday after practice, and Rand came over and did a little bit of the show. They told me that Sean is a part of the shoe police in the locker room, that he's out here copping people's or scoping people's shoes out, making sure that they're right on a regular basis, scouting out people's fit. Have you been got by the shoe police yet in the locker room?
I didn't. I don't plan on being got.
No.
Either.
But you got it though. You got that though.
Yeah, I got it.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So like, all right, I'm gonna have you evaluate mine because I hid mine under the table from him.
Uh-oh.
I got my high top Nikes out here, but they're creased. Would the shoe police bust me if I was in the locker room? It's tough because it's training camp.
like
you try not to wear shoes like that out here.
Yeah, man, you seem like you cool, but they're gonna definitely get you though.
That's Tajay Spears. It came up to me on Saturday at practice. I had a different pair of shoes on. He said they would have gotten me on Saturday too. So apparently I can do no right in the eyes of the shoe police out at Titans practice. But he is going to be an interesting player, right? Dontrell Hilliard is not on this football team anymore. They're going to have somebody who can contribute as a running back in the passing game. And, as they look for whatever the future beyond Derrick Henry, whether it's next season, whether it's 2 seasons, 3, at whatever point Derrick Henry is not on the Titans roster anymore, and they start to evaluate what their future running back looks like, he is as interesting a player to watch this year as, you talk about replacing Tannehill. Is Tajay Spears a legitimate option to start or present a replacement plan for Derrick Henry? Doesn't have to do it all himself, but can he be a piece of the puzzle? That remains to be seen. All right. Time for In Case You Missed It. We're going to bring Bert on here. Bert will, I'm sure, it's always disappointing that he feels the need to put on a shirt for this segment. I think that people demand that I think that people prefer he do it shirtless on a regular basis. But we'll see what Bert has to offer us. Apparently it is Derrick Henry related for In Case You Missed It today, right after I remind you that Superbook Sports makes the primetime show possible. They are the best in the business, the best sportsbook app out there. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZ, get your first bet matched up to $250. Nobody has better odds boosts or promo bets than Superbook Sports. So let us see what Bert has to offer us today for In Case You Missed It. Hey, bud.
Hey, I'm going to let you know, I would have got by the shoe police too, because every day what I'm rocking. Boys right there. Let me get a sponsorship. Croc, if you're out there, it's all I wear. It's the only shoe I wear. I would wear this to a funeral, a wedding. It does not matter to me. Bert's Croc, let me get an exclusive pair. How about it?
You think you're getting a shoe deal with Crocs?
Look at me. I am Crocs clientele, 100%.
But with the shoe police, because Crocs are commonplace in an NFL locker room. Like these are people's shower shoes. These are comfort shoes. These are casual shoes. I like Crocs. I think Crocs are fine. I think that you might get a pass unless your Crocs are like noticeably tattered, which I imagine yours are.
I run them till the wheels fall off. I like when they're about even with the ground. And
Bert, Lucas, and I went out the other weekend, and Lucas's hair was askew very, very much at the venue that we were at, and Bert's hair reminds me of that tonight. This is why I'm assuming that, or you've been electrocuted. I'm not certain.
It's all the angles, man. It's the angles. I'm not really it's not really that bad.
It's frightening. Either way, go ahead. What have you brought us this week?
Besides the shoe police, there have been a lot of storylines running rampant over Titans training camp. One of those, I didn't feel like we got a definitive answer to that question until today. Now, before I broach this question, I want to let you know Mike Vrabel has spoken on this, and I think his word should be pretty close to gospel. That's rough, dude. You can't actually push my glasses up. Mike Vrabel spoke on this. How many children would it take to tackle Derrick Henry? What does Mike Vrabel think?
35. You want to try it?
Yeah, can we try it?
Sure, as long as you're one of the 5-year-olds.
That might be counted as child abuse.
Lord, I want to see Derrick Henry stomp on some children. I don't know about y'all. I need to see him just run through waves of children, and he's just backhanding people like that when they went into Mordor. Anyway, we got to see that today at training camp, Buck. But before I show you the video, I want to know how many you think.
it would take to take down Derrick. You know, I imagine it's like a scene in 300 where they have the body or the wall made of bodies. I would imagine that there would be a wall made of 5-year-old bodies would be the only thing capable of stopping Derrick Henry. They don't have to be, alive or dead, your choice, I suppose. But I would say at least 500 5-year-olds to stop Derrick Henry.
Well, you know what? Today, luckily, the cameras were rolling, and we got to see how many kids it took. Oh, Lord, I wanted him to truck stick those children so bad. Just hold that right trigger down, Derrick. Just lay that boom into those kids. I bet even the parents there, even the parents in the way weren't handling none of it, dude. I would pay. How much would it take, you think, for us to just get a very tight corridor of children, maybe like volunteers? Think about how cool that'd be. When you grow up, you got to say you got stiff-armed into the ground by Derrick Henry.
Do you remember? Oh, Dylan. What's the Green Bay running back's name?
AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon tackling the mascot at a Green Bay minor league. That's a grown ass man in a not protective necessarily, but in a costume that one would think offers some degree of protection from whatever contact you might take. No. That grown-ass man was thrown because A.J. Dillon didn't understand that they were asking him to do football, but not really do football.
A.J. Dillon
doesn't understand the difference between doing football, but not only kind of doing football. Nor does Derrick Henry. If you told Derrick Henry, hey, go do football on those 5-year-olds, it would be a bloodbath. It would be a massacre. There would be bodies askew flying through the air like something in a cartoon.
And I'm here for it. I don't know how we set that up. I don't know. Maybe like what if it's bigger children? What if we got like 10-year-olds? That way it's a little closer.
It's like this is like you going to like a little person boxing event for fun is basically what you're trying to propagate here.
I've always said, if I was going to fight anybody, I'd love for it to be a no-armed man. Let a no-armed man talk to me. I'm all about the advantages. Anyway, Derrick Henry could mow through as many kids as it would take.
That is the answer is no. The limit does not exist. There are no amount of 5-year-olds that can stop that man.
I knew you were a Mean Girls guy. I could tell. All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
You can't sit with us. That's Bert. You can hear him tomorrow on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on 104.5 The Zone before our radio show starts live from training camp. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Radio show tomorrow, as I mentioned, Rashad Weaver is on the show. Will Levis on Thursday. So we'll look forward to having those conversations in the next couple of days. If you're out at training camp tomorrow, look forward to seeing you guys. I know some of you season ticket holders are going to be out there and enjoying the sights and the sounds. Prime time tomorrow at 8 p.m. in the meantime. See you guys.
Are you surprised to hear that?
Certainly not. The first year we took it to the limit. And I was in Miami with my new beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach.
It's been 20 years since then. We haven't been too strong in the last few years.
Oh, we've been strong. We're just playing by the rules. You can't have a newcomer come in and steal a show.